funny. I worked at CNN. Kimberly's niece and I used to work together. And hi, Amanda. But so I, a lot of people don't know this, but I was a journalist, and I produced documentaries, and I wrote, and I did all this stuff. I never called myself a journalist the entire time I was at CNN, and I was there 10 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Because they made me think I wasn't.
Wow.
And they used to say things to me all the time, like, well, you're not really like doing that. And because I was sort of on this different tier, like it didn't process that I was actually doing all the same things they were doing, but actually at a higher level with more people, more times a day. That it took me to leave when I went, what? Wait a minute.
Right.
You guys aren't even that good. Like, oh my gosh. But it took that, but I think that is it. That takes time off of your success, though, because you're so busy kind of believing that you aren't this person, and so that everyone's better than you, and that you shouldn't try. I mean, not that I didn't continue trying. Obviously, I continued trying, but the like you mentioned, Kimberly, the thoughts in the head where you're like, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And you just keep hearing it. Even while you're doing it, they're still going off and you're like, oh, shut up. It's hard. It's hard to get them to shut up.
Yeah.
So also I feel like Black women, we find each other at work and we look out for each other in ways like it's almost like this coded language. And sometimes I'm just like, did you all have at some point in your life like a Black woman at work that like looked out for you in ways that no one else can? I was lucky at CNN. I had like a group of Black women where we would all like your niece Amanda was actually one of them, because she pulled me out of so many jams, and I'd be like, Amanda, help me. But did you all make those like? And sometimes it's the lady that works in the cafeteria. Like it is not. It doesn't have to be like at your same job title. Did you all have that at some point?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think part of the issue is just working on the types of shows that I was working on. I was always the only one, not only just the only woman, the only person of color. So you're representing in a room full of white men, and the next person of color or woman to you is a support staff person who, is not on your same level in terms of the job that you're doing, but definitely in terms of looking out and hearing the conversations that you might not be hearing. There were definitely people who were saying, oh, this is what's being said, or let me tell you what I overheard. And that's invaluable just in terms of getting a leg up on what's going on around you, because you're not always going to hear some of those conversations. And for me, I always felt that, I really wanted to help the support staff and raise them up as much as I could. And in my industry, in television writing, if you're a good showrunner, you will try to raise up the writer's PA and the script coordinator and the writer's assistant. And so I'm always looking to those people as people who I think, well, you can be a writer. You're here not to get coffee or not to take notes. You're not going to do that indefinitely. At some point, you're going to be a writer. And at some point, it's my job to help you get there. So I feel like, looking around at the people who are surrounding you to try and give more opportunities and to give more information to help them get where they need to go. I think that's definitely something that's helped me. And I feel like you got to pay that back.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really powerful because there was one young woman, well, actually, she was older than me, when I first started working at one of the investment houses. And I remember distinctly the second day there, the supervisor said to me, "You see that lady, you stay away from her. She's bad news." She was the only other Black woman in the unit. And what I realize now is she wanted to keep us apart. And we became quick friends. In fact, that's over 30 years ago. We just talked the other day. She's retired. I've long left there. They tried to keep us apart, but it didn't work. But, what you're talking about is so true, right? So I was what they would have considered to be on the inside track around what was going on, and they were trying to ostracize her. And I was able to shield her from what they were trying to do to her because I was, quote, on the inside hearing, and she was the subject of all the animosity and the things that were trying to layer against her. So to your point, and she actually was a support system for me, whether she realized it or not, because being older than me, she was able to help me in many areas. So it wasn't just about work, being a woman and working and then having a family at home. That balance, that dynamic is so challenging. And she was able to guide me around how to deal with the dissatisfaction that my husband had because I was at the point where I was making the same amount of money as he was. And that became a huge problem in my life. But to your point, it is about how can we be role models? I listened to what Kim has done and what Nakia has done. How can we be role models for that next generation, right? I love, Kara, that you spoke about how we do come together, right? We whether it's overtly or without even saying it, we come together to support each other to say, "Hey, Kim, did you know this and this is going on? You should be talking to that person on the guy. This one is trying to take your ideas. Maybe you don't want to be so forthcoming with them so that they don't have the ability to steal, your creativity." But yeah, we've got to stick together and come together.
I also think that's a narrative that certainly in Hollywood, the idea of women not helping each other, it's a narrative that I think a lot of men like to put forward that, women don't work well together, or they'll be gossiping or sniping at each other. And that really honestly has not been my experience at all. And I feel like that's something, Kimberly, like you were saying, they try to separate you. It's like a way to try to keep us apart, or a way to kind of put in our heads, you shouldn't be working together. But I don't think that's our experience. I feel like for me, I've always been surrounded by women who wanted to help me, or who I've wanted to help. And you go out of your way to make sure that they will be successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, women really are the only people that any moves that I've ever made, it's because a woman has like flipped a switch and been like, just go. Because whenever you go to, like for me, whenever I went to dudes to ask them stuff, they were always like, yeah, I don't, and you're like, so you're going, yeah, I think so. And you're like, and later on, I realized that when they say, I think so, it's just no. Like it's no, don't ask them again. I think so means no. Because when I saw the women doing it, when I would ask a woman to do it and they would just do it and then it would be done, right. Like, it wasn't actually that difficult. You just didn't want to.
Yeah.
Which I also think is sort of the head game that they play in these companies too, is that they make it like, oh, it's so difficult to get over that line. Yeah, because like there's 30 papers and like then I got to go to a judiciary and you're like, what? And they're, yeah, 2 hours later, they're, and then some other guy goes up and then it's like they skip from PA to like senior writer in 6 months. So it's possible.